Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, December 8th to Saturday, December 14th. So last week we kicked off December with a huge bang. Of course, we moved into a new month with new life lessons, new chapters for us to unfold. And of course, we did so in a big way with that new moon in Sagittarius that, of course, kicked off the bridge that we're currently building between the old world and the new world, the old version of self, the new version of self, and the old dreams, visions, goals that the old version of self had versus the new wants, needs, and desires that the new version of self is bringing online. We'll talk about the bridge as we get going here. But that new moon in Sag definitely triggered a domino effect. And we've been seeing the evidence of those energies coming in, helping us to build this bridge, not only in our physical realms, not only in our energetic realms, but in our physical DNA. Again, the Schumann Resonance gives us indicators that, again, there is a major recoding going on. We'll talk about that in just a second. But the new moon in Sag definitely triggered and activated the domino effect that we are still very much in. As I'm coming to you live Friday evening, first of all, thank you so much for being in the chat. If you're not in the chat, if you're not with me Friday evening, I want to thank you for joining the replay. But my point being, Mars, the god of war, he just went retrograde here today. And that is going to have a major effect on us, especially moving into the new year. Mars going retrograde definitely knocks the wind out of our sails for many different reasons, in a lot of different ways. But again, if you've been doing the work and staying up on that energy guide and listening to the astro forecast, you would know that this is a beautiful opportunity for us to get realigned with our energy, with our passions, with our desires, with how it is that we are going to now move in the world, pursuing what it is that our heart wants us to pursue when Mars goes direct, which isn't happening anytime soon. So we're going to have plenty of time, plenty of options and opportunities to get our shit together in all the right kind of ways. And of course, we still have a major day of energy shifts coming at us here on the 7th, with Venus and Ceres both moving into Aquarius energy, bumping into Pluto as soon as they get there. And of course, the moon shifting into Pisces energy, helping us to wrap up this particular cycle as we prepare to begin again, but not before Neptune stations direct in the Pisces energy. So we definitely still have a lot that we still have to work through here this weekend. And of course, this week coming, we are going to kick things off with the first quarter moon taking place in Pisces energy, peaking here on the 8th. That is going to be the final domino for this weekend's energy events anyways. And then we're kind of left alone for this whole entire week, meaning this is the last week that Mercury will be retrograde. So there's going to be a lot of kind of, reanalyzing, second guessing, revising, if you will, restructuring, especially our truths, our actions, our paths, our ideas, our passions, moving on and moving forward. But we're also going to be building to the full moon in Gemini. If you haven't listened to the December energy overview, then you wouldn't know that we have the full moon in Gemini popping off on the 15th. And then we have Mercury going direct on the exact same day, literally hours after that peak potency actually arrives. So that is a pretty interesting day, if I do say so myself. And because this week is kind of giving us let's say an option, an opportunity to realign and to readjust, we are definitely going to be seeing things differently. A lot of that is because Neptune going direct, or the universe gives us our rose-colored glasses back. We get to put those babies back on our face. We get to start focusing on the things that are working, the things that are kind of in alignment, the positive things, the silver linings, instead of being focused on all of the crap that we've been sitting in for the past 4.5, 5 months. So it is going to be another very interesting week of building the bridge, so to speak, but a lot of the bridge building is going on in our inner realm. Yes, it's happening on a DNA level. It's also helping us on a cellular level. And of course, it is helping us on our chakra level. And it is helping us to kind of get ourselves in alignment in our inner realm before we bust this version of self out to play in the physical realm. And again, not happening anytime soon because the bridge is still not fully built. We'll talk about that in just a second. But before I get into all of my rants and raves, I just want to take a moment to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping beautiful emojis in the comment section below. I want to thank those of you that have jumped over to my Patreon, taking advantage of the deals that I have going on paid content, membership type of issues over there. I also want to thank those of you that have jumped over to Spotify and iTunes. If you didn't know, I have, decided to share all of this information that was solely for YouTube on other platforms because YouTube decided to not be friends with me anymore. And I figured, you know what? I'm not making nearly as much money off of the ads as I once was, so I may as well just abandon YouTube, not altogether, but primarily. So if you're looking for ad-free content, you're going to find that starting this week over on my Patreon. And you're going to find that on Apple iTunes, and you're going to find that on Spotify. And you're going to say, oh my goodness, that is so awesome. That is so great for me. But Mara, doesn't that mean that you're cutting into the money that you're able to make? Yes, it does. And does that suck? Absolutely, it does. I'm going to continue to run ads on my YouTube channel, even though I've had many requests from people to say, if you took your ads off, people may listen to your videos longer or whatever the case may be. Well, that's great. But the whole point of YouTube is to get paid. Okay. So I don't know if y'all know what it's like to be a creator, but we really depend on that ad space in order to pay us for our time so that y'all don't have to, so that we don't have to be bothering you all the time to donate and to do this and to do that. But at the same time, I'm getting kind of frustrated playing this YouTube game. They assure me that 2025 is going to be a game changer because they're going to basically allow fans or community members to push my content into the algorithm. I honestly I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here, but I actually don't think that my lack of views is due to people not being interested. I think it's because I'm shadow banned and people aren't seeing my content. So when we bust into 2025 and my beautiful community members such as y'all selves go ahead and push my content to the top and push it into the algorithm and the algorithm keeps spitting me out, then we will know for sure that realistically it's because YouTube doesn't want to be friends with me. And that's fine. We will just set up on other platforms. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of plant the seed that if you are on any of the other platforms that I just rattled off, that again, you have access to ad-free content. And I would highly suggest that if that's what you're in it for, that you jump over those platforms. And of course, to those of you staying on YouTube and sitting through my ads, I thank you very much. I'm doing the best that I can to try and make sure that I'm not constantly having to hit my community members up in order for the love and support that, again, I was hoping that YouTube would be paying me for doing what I've been doing. Nonetheless, we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're moving on. So what I would also want to say, just a reminder here, is that, after years of putting out paid zodiac forecasts for all the signs, I had everybody say, well, there's so many other readers and astrologers on YouTube that are doing it for free. Why don't you do it for free? And that just wasn't part of my business plan. But of course, December tried to switch things up because things obviously aren't working. And I thought to myself, hey, let's do it for free. Let's do mini readings for all the different signs. Let's put it on YouTube like I've been basically being begged to do for years. And guess what? I did it. And guess what? Nobody's watching it. So again, don't understand what's going on here. That zodiac forecast for the month of December should have so many more views on it than it actually does. So I'm just dropping it in this little, homework section If you haven't listened to it, please listen to it. If you enjoy it, please share it. I don't know why I am not getting the views that I should be getting, but nonetheless, I'm trying not to complain. This is my roundabout way of not complaining. So please, 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 if you're interested in all that stuff, if you want me to continue doing all that stuff, please view the content. Please make it known that this is something that you enjoy, because not only does it help me out figuring out, what people actually want to be doing, want to be listening to, but it also helps YouTube to understand that, hey, guess what? We're going to great lengths to make sure that nobody listens to this girl and they're still listening to her, right? Maybe it would up their game on what they could do differently in order to make sure that my content isn't being viewed the way that they don't want it to be viewed. Let's show them differently. Let's do psychological, reverse psychological warfare on this freaking algorithm, and let's see if we can kind of tip the scales in my favor. The only other thing that I wanted to talk about is to thank those of you that have given me the positive feedback on the new moon guide format. So instead of doing a moon guide for every new moon and every full moon, which is 2 moon guides a month, I jam-packed it all into one, and instead of doing shadow work for the moons now in the moon guides, we are doing manifesting. And not just like new moon, full moon manifesting, we're doing it every phase of the freaking moon. And specifically speaking, because this week we are starting off with the first quarter moon in Pisces, that is a major activation in moon manifesting. There's a whole chapter on it in this moon guide. And of course, we're going to end the week off moving into the full moon in Gemini, which is another chapter in that particular guide as well. So if you are into moon manifesting, if you want to kind of, switch gears, especially if you were a moon guide subscriber years ago and you said, you know what, I'm tired of doing the shadow work. I'm tired of doing the deep dive. I get it. We've been doing it for long enough. And again, the December energy guides that I write, or the monthly energy guides, I should say, that focuses on shadow work. It's time for us to have a little bit of fun. It's time for us to test our creator abilities. And of course, we do that through manifesting. So if you don't have that new formatted moon guide available in front of you, I'm going to recommend that you download that as well, because we are still very much in this new moon Sagittarius cycle until the end of the month. We are moving rapidly through the month. Don't know if you've noticed, but it's going rather quick. We knew that it would. The closer that we get to the 21st of December, it's going to get faster and faster and faster and faster, because of course that's the solstice energy and we're about to close out a karmic chapter and enter into a new one. But I digress. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is that we got a lot going on in the moon guide here this week. And if you want to get on the manifesting train, especially setting up a solid foundation for what it is that you want to build and create in 2025, I would recommend getting that guide in front of you. Okay, I've talked enough. Let's talk about the Ascension symptoms for this week. So the rant that I want to go on is about the bridge. Okay, so Sagittarius energy, typically speaking, is the bridge between what is dying, what is ending, what we're leaving behind, Scorpio season, and what we want to build, what we want to bring to life, what we want to create for the long term, Capricorn season. So the Sag energy is kind of sandwiched in between the death and destruction that needs to happen, that of course we do in Scorpio season, and the tough love, nitty gritty, slowed down to a tortoise crawl type of energy and action that we take in Capricorn season. And Sag season, for the most part, if we didn't have all these retrogrades going on, it would feel a lot more light and fluffy than it's been feeling. It's actually been a very heavy and weighted Sag season as of yet. A lot of that is because Jupiter, who rules over Sag season, is retrograde in the opposite sign, which is Gemini. And then we have Mercury's retrograde, and then, now Mars is retrograde. So at the same time, this is a time for us to be reshaping our wisdom, our knowledge. This is a time for us to be revisiting, revising the old, especially where belief systems are concerned. You know, Sagittarius energy is the philosopher, it is the guru of the zodiac. We have the ability to, under the Sag influence, to see the deeper meaning, the deeper reasoning of why certain things had to happen in the way that we did. But of course, this being the bridge, not only are we bridging the gap from, again, the old world that the old version of self has created. Again, mind the marbles in my mouth. It is Mercury retrograde. It's been very difficult for me to actually, communicate as clearly as I normally do. That's just a side note. Anywho, that old version of self built the old world that, again, we're moving away from. Transitions are hard. Adjustment periods are hard. Sag energy is giving us all of those things, because when we move into Capricorn season, we're going to be focused on what we want to build and create for the long term. And that Capricorn energy being the manifesting energy of the zodiac, we have to feel everything in our physical body. It is an earth sign, so we have to be physically aware, physically present, physically aware of our circumstances, of our situations, what we like, what we don't like, where we're at, where we don't want to be anymore, all of these things. But even more than that, and I talked about this, touched on it briefly at the intro of this video, this is the bridge in which our DNA is being kind of restructured. Now, not that I want to get into a whole rant about the energy and the ascension symptoms and all this kind of stuff, but basically, we are given very small windows of options and opportunities in the calendar when there are the right alignments in order for us to make a, let's call it, quantum leap in a different path, in a different direction. But our physical bodies, and again, kind of going back to Scorpio season, we unleash this Phoenix version of self towards the end of Scorpio season, which is the new version of self, but that's just soul and spirit. When the Phoenix flew as high as he had to go in order to, launch himself from the pile of rubble, the pile of ash that essentially we burnt down the old version of self, and that was the result of that. The Phoenix flies up from that pile of ash and goes all the way up into the sky and gains the biggest, broadest perspective that we could possibly grasp. And that is essentially our soul's highest point of potential in this particular cycle, in this particular calendar. But then what happens is that Sag season happens, and then we are, we're trying to dream a bigger dream. We are trying to restructure our truth. We're trying to visualize where it is that we want to go from here. We're trying to stay optimistic. We're trying to stay confident. Again, if Jupiter, the ruler of Sag, would have been in a direct situation, this would have been a totally different season. But all of the retrogrades are hinting to where there's recoding, rewiring going on. Now, previous to Sag season, we were in Scorpio season. And in that Scorpio season, because our soul, our spirit selves, were going through the change and transformation, Mother Earth, Gaia herself, she was going through a change. She was going through a transformation. That's why we couldn't ground. Remember me saying how, typically speaking, everybody's trying to ground, but the energy feels off. And as much as we're trying to ground and stay anchored and connected to the earth, it feels like, when you take the same poles of a magnet and you try to push them together and you can feel that magnetic resistance. That's what it felt like, because we were not a vibratory match to Mother Earth, and Mother Earth was no longer a vibratory match to us. She was going through her change and transformation. We were going through our change and transformation. We were kind of butting heads, right? So here we are in Sag season with all of these retrogrades forcing us to look back, forcing us to choose differently, forcing us to reprogram ourselves. The recoding is going on an earthly level. So it's going on with Mother Earth's coding. So when I talk about coding, spoiler alert, we live in a mental simulation. Here we go with the marble mouth again. My apologies. We live in a simulation. This is what people want to call the matrix. Matrix is just zeros and ones. It's a binary code that make the density of the structures that we have here in physical form actually appear here in the physical form based off of, again, the coding. So the process that we're going through, this great awakening that we're going through, trying to edge ourselves into the age of Aquarius, is basically a corrupt file in the matrix coding that now has to be recoded, rewritten. It's been collapsed. So when we talk about timeline jumps, a timeline jump means that the timeline that we were currently on is collapsing. We can't stay there. And so essentially the vibration, the frequency that we're all kind of, resonating at, it jumps into a different resonance. It jumps into a different frequency. And then what happens? Well, then we have to learn how to anchor it. Well, how do we anchor it in when Mother Earth is going through her own shit and we can't even, be a vibratory match to her? Well, this is where we're at right now. We're building the bridge. The bridge is happening on many different levels, first of all. It is recoding our DNA to, again, eliminate and collapse the fragmented DNA that was altered in our creation in order to keep us less than, okay? Less than the Christ consciousness, less than the creator and godlike, let's call it, abilities that we are now trying to tap into. We have to kind of recognize that consciousness, awareness has taken huge amount of leaps in a very short amount of time. That's why everybody's losing their damn minds, okay? Like, this is no joke. So the recoding, yes, is going on a matrix level, on an earth level. The recoding is also going on in our physical bodies, starting with our DNA, then kind of focusing in on our cellular memory. Why is that? Well, because trauma gets stored in our cellular memory. You can go through all of the therapy. You can reframe it in the most positive way. You can desensitize yourself to the trauma that essentially pained you and wounded you. It's still stuck in your body. If you don't do body work, you're not releasing the trauma out of the cellular memory of the physical body. And so this is why, we are going through this awkward adjustment. This is why it feels like, I'm going to call it a slingshot being kind of pulled back, ready to aim with nowheres to go. There's no target yet. And that's the downfall of Sagittarius season, is that we're so unfocused. We're having a hard time concentrating on what the goal should be, what the target should be. It is pretty hard to manifest something when you don't have a clear vision. And when you don't have clear vision, you're just sitting around waiting for that vision. Many people waiting for the download. Okay, but we're the creators of our own destiny. So why are you sitting around waiting for an activation to either happen or potentially not happen when you could just decide in your mind right now what you want or what you don't want? So when people... This is the frustrating part, is that I think that because we're all operating at different parts of our journey, because we're all operating at different levels of awareness and consciousness, there are still people that don't understand that you're not sitting around waiting for the energy to be right. You're not sitting around waiting for the downloads to happen. You're not sitting around waiting for opportunity to knock on your door. You got to get your ass up and you have to create that situation. It can all happen in your mind right now. You could decide right now, guess what? I hate my job. I hate the people at my job. I hate what I do. It's sucking the life force energy out of me. Guess what? I'm going to quit my job. And the very first thing that happens is that your ego is going to kick in and be like, bitch, you can't quit your job. You got bills to pay. You can't quit your job until you find another job. Okay. That's the ego's way of trying to plan. When the soul knows that if you stay in a situation, in a circumstance for one more single minute, that the soul is going to die, it doesn't matter if you have a plan or not. You're going to give your hope, your faith to the universe. You're going to trust your heart space, and you're going to take the first step needed in order to free you from a construct that your ego programming has you stuck in so that you don't grow, that you don't evolve. Now, before you say, okay, I'm going to go right now and quit my job, and the universe is going to give me a job, and then you're going to sit around for a couple of weeks and you're going to start getting fearful and nervous, and you're going to come back to me and you're going to be like, you told me to quit my job and the universe hasn't given me a better job yet. What am I going to do? And I'm going to say to you, well, what job do you want to do? And you're going to say, I don't know. I just know that I don't want to do that job. And I'm going to say, okay, well, what kind of list have you been making about the things that actually make you excited or make you feel filled with passion? And you're going to say, well, I haven't done that. I'm just waiting for opportunity to knock on my door. And I'm going to say, is that the way that you manifest? And you're going to say, well, I don't know how to manifest. I just thought that if I made the move to quit my job, that the universe was going to take care of me. Okay, good. That's how spiritual psychosis kicks in. Okay. What people don't understand is that you have to create the opportunity or the opportunities. There we go with my marble mouth again. You have to create the opportunities that you want to knock on your door. So let's say this, okay? Let's say you decide to quit your job. Great. What you need to be doing is focusing in your mind hole, okay, on the life that you want to be living. No joke, okay? And I think it's fun to talk about jobs because realistically, nobody should want a job, really. When people not even ask me, but anyone, well, what do you want to do for your job? What do you want to do for a career? My personal answer is I don't want to do anything. I'm not here to work. I'm here to be. I'm here to experience. I'm here to just have this human experience as the God consciousness, as the Christ consciousness that flows through me in order to have this experience and these interactions in order for me to go back to source with all of my information so that I can end up in a state of wholeness, okay? Nobody should want to be working. Okay. And you're going to say, oh my God, but I love what I do. I have such a passion for what I do. If you're doing something that fills your cup up, that fills you with joy, that is fueling your passion, you're not working. That's not work, right? That's why they say if you can find yourself in a career that you absolutely love, you'll never work a day in your life. But it's these limitations, it's these restrictions, it's this ego programming that has us believing, first of all, that we have to work. Second of all, that we, have to be doing something to make somebody else's life better when realistically we're here to make our own lives better. So the answer is manifest that shit in your mind. You don't have to quit your job right now, right today. Especially if you don't have a goal, a vision, a dream in mind of what it is that you would prefer to be doing over what it is that you're currently doing that you don't want to do anymore. It starts in your mind. Now, does that mean that we just hold a vision like, ooh, I want to, and I'm going to use a personal reference. I'm not going to say who it is, but if you're listening, you know I love you. If you decide that you want a job taking care of baby otters because baby otters make your heart flutter, because they make you happy, they make you smile, and you could just imagine a life waking up every day and doing what you have to do to take care of baby otters, and that brings such a sense of joy to your heart space that you just light up. Well, guess what? Maybe you need to seek out where you could be a helper, an assistant, a guide to baby otters. You don't just sit around thinking about, oh, wouldn't it be great? Watching TikTok, looking at all the baby otters. Wouldn't it be cool to have a job working with baby otters? That would make me so happy. That would be so fun. That's not enough. Yes, it's great to have the visual. Yes, it's great to back it with a passion, with a desire to have that particular option and opportunity gifted to you in this earth plane. But the most rational, logical thing to do is to apply to places that maybe need a caretaker for baby otters. Now, are you going to find a baby otter place in the depths of Canada in the cold? Probably not. So if you live in a place where there are no baby otters, does it make sense that you are solely looking for a job taking care of baby otters? No, you have to move to the location where the baby otters are. So the point that I'm trying to make here, action is needed. Okay, so you don't just live in your head. You don't just hope and pray. You don't just cuddle up on your couch and think about all the good things that you hope come true in your life without taking action to align your ass with that outcome. Okay, and that's where most people fall off on the spiritual journey is like, what? It's not enough to sit around and hope and pray, and it's not enough to put it on my vision board. Like, I actually have to do something. I have to apply to jobs. Oh my God, what do you mean? What do you mean I have to network? What do you mean I actually have to look for places that would potentially even have the job in which I'm looking for? That's where people fall off. And you want to know why? Because people are lazy. And people don't understand that spirituality, energy work, okay? It ain't easy. If it was easy, everybody would be living the life in which they, dream about, because that's all it would have to take is sitting back and daydreaming about the life in which you would. Pow! You're living in it. Well, that was easy. Didn't have to do anything. That's not how life works. That's just not how it works. It's not where we're at. So I know I got totally off track there, but that's what I do. The bridge that we're building is very significant because this is the point in time where we get to, and we're not even really actively doing it. We're watching the recoding of Mother Earth. You can watch the Schumann Resonance in order to see that's happening. You can feel it in your body. Or do you feel good right now? The answer is no. The reason why the answer is no is because your whole system is being upgraded. Starting with your DNA, starting with your cellular memory. Does that feel good? Absolutely not. No, it should not, okay? It does not, and it should not. When you watch, and I'm gonna go really mystical on you here for a minute. When you watch someone turn into a werewolf, okay? So pick a movie that you watched before. I hate to Twilight you, but that's the first one that I'm gonna reference, okay? Does it look fun to turn from a human being to a werewolf? Looks painful as shit to me, okay? Shape-shifting is not fun. It is not easy. It hurts like F, okay? I was gonna do a bad thing there, but YouTube would really not want to be friends with me if I did that. We have to understand that we are shapeshifters. Okay, the old version of self that is dead and gone, that was a version of ourselves that we sat in for a very long time. The version of self that we are building into, it's not born yet. That's why this part hurts so bad. That's why there's aches and pains. That's why there's all these ascension symptoms popping off, because it hurts to grow. Think about when you were a kid laying in bed and your legs were just killing you because you were going through growing pains. Literal bones in your body growing at an exponential rate that you could not see, but damn, you could feel it. Oh man, could you feel it? This is no different. We're going through growing pains. And the bridge that we're currently building, it will get built. It is going to act as a beautiful, stabilized bridge in order to get us away from where it is that we no longer desire to be and closer to where it is that we dream of being. But the bridge is not built yet. We are building it as we're walking over it, and that is no easy feat. So please, please, please just understand that adjustment periods are not fun. They are not easy. It is not going to be like this for always. This too shall pass. But we need to really have a lot more patience with ourselves, which I know is hard to come by, especially now that Mars is going to be retrograding. There is no patience to be had, but that's where we need to double down. That is where the discipline of the mind, of the body, of the soul needs to come in. You need to be disciplined in those areas before you're going to be able to create the type of realm and reality that you want to be living in. Not everybody gets their creator abilities activated. You are not going to give that type of power to somebody that does not know how to use it responsibly. This is why we're going through the testing period. Anywho, I felt the need to talk about that because I just don't understand a lot of people. I don't understand where a lot of people are at. A lot of the complaints or a lot of the comments or a lot of, topics and themes that come up in sessions and stuff, like, I have the ability, for the most part, to understand where people are coming from. I understand, where people are at. I don't understand why there is so much confusion and delusion over what is going on at this particular juncture of the calendar. I'm really not sure. I'm not sure if people are just creating such confusing situations within themselves that they're actually just putting themselves in a mental state that is way more unstable than anything that they've been sitting in thus far. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but this is another bridge analogy. This is the bridge that is going to separate the sane from the insane. Those that are in spiritual psychosis with people that actually know what's going on. And I don't even think that it comes down to the individual. I think that this whole new age movement is so overwhelming and so confusing. That's the whole point, is to keep you further confused, to keep you furthering looking externally for the answers instead of looking within yourself. And I think that a lot of the chit chat around a lot of these spiritual concepts are making it into this complexity that it actually isn't. Like, life is so much more simple than many of us actually even understand it to be. And I think that the new age agenda, because it is an agenda, is to further confuse those that aren't necessarily content, stabilized, sure within themselves already. And again, we talk about, moving into next year is going to be the ending game for a lot of people. We still have Saturn in Pisces energy wiping out huge waves, huge groups of people that are not meant to have their energy on this earth plane when Saturn and Neptune move into Aries energy and the new world has an opportunity to actually emerge and begin. There are a lot of energies that are walking the face of the earth right now that have no business being here next year. And again, the reason why this year has been about walking the walk and talking the talk. You got to kind of, separate the weakest links, so to speak. And we are on this bridge right now, and we are watching people jump off of the bridge because the bridge isn't being built fast enough. And again, we're in the time in the season where there is a huge wave of people choosing to leave the earth. There always is around this particular point in time. And a lot of that is because they don't want to be here when the new karmic chapter locks in, when we walk through the solstice energy of Capricorn season. So it's all a thing. And I really am just a little bit, I don't want to say fearful because I'm really not that attached to it. But the general curiosity that I have trying to figure out what the F people are kind of going through right now, it's bewildering to me. Honestly, it is bewildering to me. And I really hope that those of you that, tune in and listen to me each and every single day, first of all, I thank you so much for the love and support. But secondary to that, I hope that you all are just, listening to the content, understanding where the energies are being activated, and again, anchoring and trusting within yourself, relying on your own intuition, and just knowing that this too shall pass. Okay, so that was my bridge rant. Thank you so much for sitting through that. Let's talk about some actual physical ascension symptoms here, because with the Schumann resonance popping off in the way that it has been essentially since we came into December, especially this past week, like it has just been wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, back to back to back to back, very much in alignment with, again, the bridge that is being built and the recoding going on in the earth plane and therefore in our physical bodies as well. We can see the actual proof, the actual evidence of the ever-changing energetic landscape by looking at the Schumann resonance. We've had a lot of ascension symptoms pop off over this past week due to, not only the fluctuatings of the energies, but, the solar flares that are popping off. We, I think, have reached the maximum potential of this solar cycle 25. I think there's been more activity in this solar cycle than like the last 11 years or some crazy data statistics as such. And, we are, spoiler alert, I hate to tell you, but we are just scratching the surface of the solar activity that we are going to be moving into over the next couple of years. And this is, let me just remind you, this is a boot camp. The weak will not survive these potent energies coming in. And if you are feeling these ascension symptoms and still just laying on the couch and not doing anything about it, I beg of you to get ahead of the game. This should not be about listening to the energies of these forecasts and being like, yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I'm in alignment with the energy. I'm in alignment with the energy. The whole point is to override the energy. So, for example, and let me just say, I'm not sitting in my glass house throwing stones here. Okay. Some days the energy gets the best of me as well. But what I'm saying is that we have these energy forecasts to give us a heads up on where it is that we're going to be challenged and where it is that we need to rise up to that challenge to override the energies. Meaning these energies are basically dictating our inner realm of thoughts and emotion. And we are supposed to have power and control over our thoughts and emotions, not the energies. And so, for example, if I'm talking about, oh, today's a rough day, like we have back-to-back friction and tension and conflict, and I get the comments on the videos like, oh, may as well stay home. Oh, not going out to do anything today. No, that's the wrong approach. You're being a victim to the energies. What you need to be doing is saying, oh, okay, Mr. Pluto, you think you're going to send me down memory lane? You think you're going to throw me back into the pit of the darkness? No, Mr. Pluto, I'm going to rise up. I'm going to tap into the empowerment energy that Pluto allows us to tap into. And I'm going to be consciously aware of my inner dialogue. And the minute that I feel like I'm tripping and going back down memory lane and the darkest path that I could possibly travel, I'm going to think of my happy place, and I'm going to focus on all of the things that are working and all of the things that I've been able to heal and overcome. And in that moment, when the energy of the cosmos is trying to push you back in that dark pit, and you light that dark pit up with love and excitement because you are in power and in control of your thoughts and your emotions, and you are not allowing the cosmos to dictate your thoughts and your emotions, that is when you get the permission to activate your creator abilities. Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm watching all of the feedback, all of the comments come back on my energy forecast, listen to all these people be like, oh, I'm staying in bed today. Oh, I hulked out. I'm in perfect alignment with the energies. The whole point is for you to not hulk out, right? So all of these energy forecasts are supposed to be giving you a heads up on where it is that you need to rise to the challenge and fight back in the best kind of way. And I don't see a whole lot of people doing that as of right now. And that to me is a little bit concerning, especially seeing as we're on this bridge and we should be, building the bridge into a new path, a new direction of awareness, of power and control over our own damn selves. And I don't see a lot of people doing that as of yet. Now, I'm not shitting on everyone, okay? And again, I'm not sitting in my glass house throwing stones, okay? There are days where I'm just like, oh, why do I feel like this? Why am I so angry and hateful? And I'm like, oh yeah, Pluto and Mars, and they're aspecting this part of my chart. And I'm like, okay. So when you have that awareness, like, yes, the energy is manifesting because this is what the cosmos is going through right now, then you have the opportunity, better. So then you have the opportunity to do better. And that's what we should be putting into practice. Okay, I still haven't jumped into the Ascension symptoms. Let me do that. Let's talk about the headspace. Okay, so Mercury is retrograde. That is headspace energy. We have Venus and Ceres now moving into Aquarius energy, adding to the air energy in the cosmos. We have a lot of pressure in the headspace. We have a lot of confusion in the headspace. We have a lot of overthinking going on, a lot of mental chatter, a lot of racing thoughts. Again, lean into your opportunity to override that ego programming. When you are observant of the thoughts, the ideas moving through the head, you are the soul observing the egoic programming. You are not the thoughts. You are not the ideas. They didn't come from you. They came from the mind control aspects of all of the energies that we are connected to here in the physical form. You need to be aware of the thoughts, of the ideas, and you need to be acting, again, as the soul self, as the observer. So it is not enough to know things. Again, Jupiter retrograde and Gemini energy. What do you know that you're not putting into practice? What have you learned that you're still failing to integrate in your day-to-day life? Where are the old ideas, the old narratives, the old chapters of self still very alive and well in your mental plane? And why are you giving it so much power and attention? We have a lot going on in the headspace. Yes, dizziness at times. Yes, a lot of people suffering from vertigo at this particular juncture. A lot of headaches, even that moving headache worm that head pressure worm that moves throughout our head space, a lot of confusion. What are we doing? Where are we going? Who am I? What do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? We're in a retrograde. It's time to be asking all of those questions. We have a lot of sinus pressure. We have that leaky faucet of a nose that just turns on and leaks out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden gets jammed up, plugged up, can't breathe through it. Again, a lot going on in the headspace. Thank you, Mr. Mercury, for that. Thank the full moon in Gemini that is going to intensify that the closer that we get to the 15th. Thank you, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini energy, for magnifying, turning the volume all the way up and then ripping the knob off of the freaking dial so that we can't turn it down for that. Thank you, Venus, for now moving into Aquarius energy and at least emotionally detaching us from our situation and circumstance that have our heart activations going all crazy all over the place in order for us to act the observer and actually push ourselves into a new level of awareness on what we actually want, need, and desire from the soul self, not the ego self. The body has a program that you need to learn to override. The soul self has a program that you need to put into control over the body self, and that's where we're at. The emotional shift that we're going to go through is going to feel interesting, and I'm going to use the word interesting because it can manifest in different ways, and depending on where you're at in your healing journey, you're going to view it as a different thing. Now, I'm going to give you this sentence, okay? I'm going to give you a monotone sentence, and then I'm going to energize it in two different manifestations, starting with, here's the phrase, nobody cares. Okay, that's the phrase, nobody cares. How did you feel listening to that? Because here's the thing, there's a group of people that are like, nobody cares. Like, just nobody cares. Why do I care? Nobody else cares. Okay, there's that energy. Then the other energy is, nobody cares. Oh, I love that nobody cares. That's freeing, okay? That's liberation. When you realize that nobody cares, it means that you can be yourself. You can do what you want. That is true freedom in its very essence. However, if you're sitting around and you kind of manifested the, nobody cares. Well, guess what? You're still looking outside of yourself for confirmation, for validation. If you were truly content, if you were acting real, raw, vulnerable, authentic to yourself, if you were truly content, peaceful, at terms of acceptance within yourself, you would really realize that, guess what? It feels amazing to realize that nobody cares. It's a beautiful thing. It's a freeing thing. So my point here is that the emotional shift that we are about to kind of enter into, specifically because Venus is moving into her emotionally detached, exploratory, independent, need some space, time, energy, and freedom in order to re-explore myself type of vibe in this Aquarius energy. For many people, it's going to be very freeing. For another group of people, it's going to be devastating because, again, there is nobody cares versus nobody cares. Love it, right? Depends on who you are, depends on where you're at in your healing journey, depends on how that's actually going to manifest for you. But especially as we get closer to this full moon, which of course is going to fully illuminate different perspectives, different emotions. There's going to be different things rising to the surface for our acknowledgement, for our awareness. We're also going to have some aspects popping off here this week with Chiron and with Pluto, so the wounded healer and the great transformer. And you best believe that in order to actually appreciate the light, you got to sit in that darkness. In order to appreciate how far you've come and how much you've healed, you have to look back to see when you were broken, when you were sitting in your wounds. There's going to be a lot of unresolved wounds rise to the surface of our awareness. I'm not going to say that they're not going to be felt because, of course, you have to feel the feelings, especially if you want to heal them. But it's going to not be as intense as it normally would be if Venus was in any other placement other than Aquarius energy. The fact that we are able to act as the observer with what the physical body programming is going to make us feel in order to throw us back into the pain and trauma of the wounded version of self. Now we get to choose whether we're going to set up camp there or whether or not we're going to visit it and reframe it and empower ourselves on how far we come and how much we've been able to heal within ourselves. That, again, is up to you. That is up to you to decide. And again, you can decide at any given moment to break away from your programming, to do things differently, to react differently to different situations and circumstances, which essentially break the neural pathways in your brain in order for the looping patterns and behaviors of the unconscious self to stop. And at which time you get to retrain your brain to act in a different way than what it is that your unconscious programming has been having you act out in for all of this time. So it's actually a beautiful thing. When I say to you that we have not so nice thoughts and feelings arising, everybody's like, oh my God, when is this going to end? Okay, first of all, it's going to end when you die. You're here to grow, you're here to evolve, you're here to unpack the pain, the trauma, the shadow. Okay, so if you want to, fast forward that process up, then just ultimately know what the ending is in which you need to pray for in order for this process to end. When I have people say to me, oh, when are we going to get the opportunity to have a little bit of fun and to enjoy ourselves? You can do that at any given moment. Okay, you do not need to have a positive, energetic oomph take place in our experience in order for you to create happiness and joy. That is something, again, that the creator abilities need you to be practicing before you're given that power. You can be in a negative energy shitstorm and be the happiest version of yourself alive. You do not need an energetic alignment in order to give you permission to have happiness and joy. You need to be creating happiness and joy even on the darkest day. This is how light workers are built, created, are born. You do not wait for your ideal situation, your ideal job. You do not wait for the love of your life. You do not wait for all of the things on your vision board to actually manifest in your physical realm before you deem yourself to be happy and in a state of joy. You create that energy every freaking day of your life. That is your job. So again, this is where I have like this disconnect where I'm like, I don't know if I'm like not explaining myself properly. I don't know if people have just lost their damn minds. I just don't typically at this particular juncture of the calendar understand what is going on with the majority of people. But like, that is my take on it. When people ask me like, when is the energy going to be better? When are we going to enjoy ourselves? My answer will always be, you can enjoy yourself right now. You're the creator of this, of this simulation. You can have the joy and happiness right now. Do you think when I was literally laying on my back after they cut my unborn children out of me and I could no longer walk and I could no longer speak and I had more medical issues than I could shake a book at, do you think I was laying there and just waiting for the universe to shift in energies in order for me to, heal myself again? No. I was focused on my happy place. I was focused on the happiness, the joy of memories, of energies, of experiences that I wanted to have in order to give me the motivation to do the physical work, to get my ass up every day and to teach myself how to walk again, to teach myself how to talk again, to teach my physical body how to operate in this physical world again, because it was mangled after what I went through. Not saying you have to go through a shit show like that. I'm just saying that some of the happiest people alive are living in the most horrific of circumstances. Happiness in your physical life, meaning, you got a nice house, you got a nice car, you got a husband, you got the 2.0 children, you got the dog, you get the white picket fence. Those are some of the most miserable people living out there in life, okay? Your physical realm does not and should not dictate your inner realm happiness. And the minute that you start realizing that you could be the happiest version of self in the absolute most chaotic, most devastating state, that's what we've been practicing for. Because if you think that life, our physical realm, is going to get better, you are sadly mistaken. I'm not trying to fearmonger, not trying to be negative, just saying this is why we're going through the ascension symptom process. This is why we're ascending. You have to be pure and raw and happy and joyful in your energy, regardless of what's going on in your physical realm. And most people are failing miserably at the ability to actually be the happiest person while there are fires burning everything down around them. That is the goal. If you're not there, you have extra work to do. Okay, I digressed again. Let me get back on this ascension symptom list. Okay, so let's talk about our physical energy. Mars just went retrograde. So our physical energy down in the pooper, okay? Physical energy low. F's to give low. Motivation, determination, inspiration low. Are we supposed to be moving on and moving forward? Nope. In our inner realm we are. Processing things we are. Analyzing things we are. In our physical realm, nope, not so much. Now, this is going to manifest in some aches and pains in the physical body because we are internalizing all of the energy that Mars is normally putting out to the world. And when we hold on to energy, and the energy is flowing through our meridians, and we have emotional and mental blockages in our cellular memory, in our DNA that are blocking that energy from moving freely and flowing, easily, that's when the aches and pains start. The aches and pains could be full body, could be on your shoulders, could be in your neck, could be in your jaw. There's a lot of tension in the upper body chest, let's call it from your rib cage to your eyeballs. Okay. There's a lot of pressure there. Yes, there's pressure in the head space. We already talked about that. But like the pressure, the aches, the pains, where it is that we're feeling this pressure kind of built up the most, this is between the rib cage and the eyeballs. And Mercury's retrograde, so our throat, our mouths are all in a state. Let's talk about that for a second. We're going to have, it's not the fuzzy sweaters on the teeth. It's not the pasty film on our mouths. It's the morning breath taste. That morning breath taste, yeah, there could be film with it. The morning breath taste is going to be lingering with us through the course of this week. This is the last week that Mercury's going to be retrograde. This is the last week that we're going to have to keep all of this fire energy within us. Hey, how's the bubble guts feeling, right? Acid reflux. A lot of the reason why we're having this morning breath taste or morning breath film in our mouth is because we got the bubble guts. And the closer that we get to the full moon, because again, spoiler alert, when the moon shifts into Gemini energy, it's going to be conjuncting and aspecting Jupiter directly before it actually peaks in its full moon potency. And again, Mercury goes direct just hours later. There's going to be this magnification on where it is that our digestive system isn't working so well due to the mental stress that we got going on in the headspace. So again, we have so many more nerves in our digestive system than we even realize. And it's psychosomatic. Whatever it is that we give time, energy, and attention in our mental plane has a direct effect on our physical body because, again, we make whatever it is that we give focus real. If you are all up in a tizzy, worried about who said what about you or what could possibly happen, or, creating this mental anxiety, this mental state of stress, you best believe you are going to manifest, mirror that, reflect that back in your physical form. And it's going to start with where the greatest group of nerves are concerned, and that is in the digestive system. That is why you have acid reflux. That is why you have the bubble guts. That's why you're not sure which end this is going to come out of. Okay. So in order to calm the digestive system down, you have to calm your mind down. In order to calm the mind down, you have to have power and control over your attention. In order to have power and control over your attention, you have to be aware of where your attention goes. In order to have that awareness over where your energy and attention goes, you have to be operating from your higher self, the observer self, the soul self. So again, it's a domino effect, and it's really not that complicated. Once you get it, you get it. Once you get it, you can't unget it. Once you know, you can't unknow, and then it becomes a practice. Things that are a practice aren't easy. If things were easy, you wouldn't have to practice them. That's why spiritual practices are so important, because it allows you a happy place to revert back to when the outside world or even your inner realm gets a little too crazy. That's why we ground. That's why we anchor. That's why we get in alignment. That's why we stay present in the moment. And when you live in your headspace and you're creating all this, stress and anxiety, you're not even living in reality. You're living in the probable situations that will never happen in the future, and you're reframing situations and circumstances that you can't control from your past. In no way are you present. In no way are you living in the now. So when you bring yourself back to the present moment, back to the now, then you have power and control over your thoughts, over your emotions. That's where we need to get to. This restlessness, again, Mars just went retrograde. Restlessness in combination with insomnia is just going to be a recipe for disaster for those that are not stable enough to keep their head above water. And with all this air energy swirling and Jupiter's magnification and the, let's call it, bursts of energy that we're getting due to these retrograde planets and then these alignments that are helping to reframe things, there's like a shock to the system. It's like, like you're wearing a shock collar and the universe every now and then jolts you back to the present moment. When you get too far ahead of yourself, as far as your thinking goes, as far as the visualizings go, as far as reframing your emotions, their pain and trauma from the past, the universe is going to hit that button and that shock collar, that dog collar, going to jolt you back to the present moment. Does it feel good? No, but it's absolutely necessary so that you don't lose yourself to a hypothetical situation that is never going to happen. Let's talk about the ear aches. Now, you could physically have an earache. When I say ear ringing, I don't want you to think like, how sometimes when you get a download or there's like a higher intelligence trying to like channel into you, you get that ear ringing. It's not that kind of ear ringing. I want you to think that you were at a band, watching a band play, or you had headphones on listening to loud music for a long time, or you were just in a very noisy environment and then you pull yourself out of that environment and the silence is actually louder than the noise actually was because there's like this resonating like ringing in your ears from the overstimulation that you just kind of created out in the world when there was too much noise. It's that kind of ringing. That's going to be a thing. The pressure in the head, the ear ache or ear ringing, trying to kind of get us in alignment because our heart and our head and our physical form, not in alignment on this bridge, right? We're all divided. The coding isn't happening all at the same time. And so, there's parts of us that need to be pulled back and there's parts of us that need to be let go. And there's parts of us that need to be realigned and anchored together. And we're effectively doing this as we're building the bridge. And so it's not going to happen overnight. It can feel very dissociating, very detached, but nonetheless, it is part of the process. Your eyes may feel heavy, like you're not able to open them up to their maximum ability. We're trying really hard to see things, but we're not seeing things fully. Therefore, the eyes can't open fully. This is the last week, again, that Mercury will be retrograde. We'll get a little bit of eye-opening clarity coming at us towards the end of the week under that full moon in Gemini. That Mercury rules over. That Mercury is going to go direct shortly thereafter in Sag energy in. And again, Sag energy, Gemini energy sit across from each other in the zodiac wheel. So there is going to be tension and conflict that jolt us out of this disassociated state, anchoring us back into the physical form and totally pivoting away from where it is that we thought we were going and kind of, adopting a new idea, a new path. The dreams are going to be shifting again, especially with Neptune coming out of a retrograde, going direct again. Pay attention to how your dream content is changing, to the vibe of the dreams, to who's in those dreams, to the landscape that those dreams are taking place in. That is going to be an ever-changing landscape, especially for the next week and a half-ish. The temperature fluctuations are going to continue. But when I say to you that most of us are going to be riding on the cold side, please believe that. This is a time, like energy for the most part, the way that I kind of look at it is that when new energy is coming online and it's not moving around, energy is cold. Therefore, we're cold. When there's a lot of energy, like breaking through old programming, doing all the things, rebuilding, like moving here, moving there, action here, action there, that's when the energy is hot, forcing, combustion, forcing change, forcing action, forcing spark. We're not in that vibe. And so many of us are going to be on the colder side of that temperature fluctuation. The last thing that I'm going to leave you with is the fact that there's going to be a lot of rigidity, a lot of heaviness, a lot of weight, a lot of cramping, a lot of tremors, even some Charlie horses, even some physical growing pains in our lower extremities. Again, we are kind of wanting to run before we've learned how to walk, so to speak, over this bridge. We're not ready to do that. Our inner realm is at a much faster pace than our physical form is ready to operate at. And so the stagnancy, the paralysis, the heaviness, the weight is trying to anchor us into the present moment, into the physical form, so that we're much more aware of where it is that we're at, instead of constantly reminding ourselves that we don't want to be here, we want to be somewhere else. You have to find happiness, joy, contentment at every stage of the game. And so the growing pains are that we're on this damn bridge. And we're going to be feeling that in our lower extremities because, again, we want to take action. We want to take steps moving forward. But if you take a step moving forward right now, your ass is falling off of that bridge. There's no step for you to be taking at this particular juncture. Therefore, you should be content in standing still. Okay, guys, I'm looking at my list. I think I've crossed things off. I'm no Santa Claus, but I'm definitely checking my list out just to make sure that I've set the tone for what it is that we are about to move into for the course of this next week. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you so much for being here, sharing your time, your energy, your space with all of us here in this beautiful community in which we're building. I'm sending you so much love, and we'll talk to you soon.